If you walk through the thick forests of upstate New York today, you'll hear nothing but the wind and the birds. It looks peaceful, but the ground beneath your feet is soaked in the blood of thousands. July 1758. The British Empire assembled the largest army ever seen in North America. 16,000 men marching to avenge the massacre of Fort William Henry. They thought they were marching to an easy victory. Instead, they walked blindly into a meat grinder, a trap of sharpened timber and lead that would create the bloodiest day in American history before the Civil War. This is the Battle of Carillon, the day the British Army was butchered. British General James Abercrombie was out for blood. He commanded a massive armada of over 16,000 regular soldiers and colonial militia. His target? Fort Carillon, commanded by the brilliant French general, the Marquis de Montcalm. But Montcalm only had 3,600 men. He was outnumbered nearly 5 to 1. Fighting the British in the open field would be mass suicide. So Montcalm did something unexpected. Instead of hiding inside the stone fort, Montcalm ordered his men to a high ridge just outside of it. For 2 days, the French chopped down thousands of massive pine trees. They piled them high, sharpening the thick branches into deadly spikes pointing straight at the British advance. This was the abattis, an impenetrable wooden wall of death. Behind it, the French infantry loaded their muskets, dug trenches, and waited. The trap was set. When General Abercrombie arrived, he looked at the wooden defenses. Any competent commander would have brought up the heavy cannons to blast the logs to splinters. But Abercrombie was arrogant. He believed British discipline and cold steel were enough to terrify the French into running. He left his cannons behind. At 1 p.m., Abercrombie gave the most disastrous order of his life. He ordered a massive frontal assault. No cannons, no flanking, just thousands of men walking shoulder to shoulder directly into the killing zone. As the red wall of British infantry stepped into the clearing, the French held their fire. They waited until the British were just 50 yards away. Point-blank range. The first British volley hit nothing but thick wood. The French volley hit human flesh. The British soldiers charged, screaming, but they couldn't get through the maze of sharpened branches. The abattis acted like a giant spider web. Men got caught in the timber, desperately trying to hack away the wood with their swords and bayonets. They were sitting ducks. Wave after wave of British and American troops were sent up the hill, and wave after wave was cut down. The heat was unbearable. The smoke was so thick that soldiers couldn't breathe or see the enemy. They were just firing blindly into the blinding white cloud. General Abercrombie, watching from the safety of the rear, refused to stop the attack. He just kept sending more men into the slaughterhouse. By late afternoon, the British lines were breaking. But there was one regiment that refused to back down. The 42nd Royal Highland Regiment, known as the Black Watch. Furious at the slaughter of their comrades, the Scottish Highlanders dropped their muskets, drew their heavy broadswords, and charged headfirst into the wall of spikes. It was a display of suicidal bravery that shocked even the French. The Highlanders climbed on top of each other's shoulders to get over the sharpened trees. A few of them actually broke through the French lines, fighting like demons in the trenches with pure rage. But bravery cannot defeat bullets. Without reinforcements, the Highlanders were surrounded and annihilated. The Black Watch lost over half of its men in a matter of minutes. Their commander was shot dead. Their bodies hung from the wooden spikes like bloody rags. By sunset, the guns finally fell silent. The British army was utterly broken. They turned and fled into the night in complete panic, leaving their dead and wounded behind. The meat grinder of Carillon was over. Over 2,000 British and American soldiers lay dead or bleeding on the hill. Montcalm had lost only 350 men. Against impossible odds, the French had pulled off one of the greatest defensive victories in military history. General Abercrombie's arrogance destroyed an empire's army in a single afternoon. Today, the wooden spikes are gone, but the ground still remembers the massacre of the Black Watch. The French had won the battle, but the British Empire would never forgive this humiliation. They were about to unleash a war machine the likes of which America had never seen. Subscribe now and don't miss the ultimate revenge in our next episode.